I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda, and you're listening to Hard Knock Life.
Well, it's the NOC in full color. You see me? The Hard Knock Life. Comics,
How you doing?
movies, and TV.
Hi, how are you?
Well, I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah, I assume you watched the whole game.
Oh
or
yeah,
the whole experience.
all 5 quarters of it.
Oh, fine. Yeah. How many overtime Super Bowl games have there been? Not a
I
lot,
think that
right?
might be the first one.
Wow.
Yeah, and overtime rules are stupid. I've learned watching
and-
it yesterday.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that part. I was thinking about a lot of things. What? How do you mean?
Well, so like the clock is pointless because apparently, and we've already started podcasting. Welcome to Hard Knock Life. This is Keith.
Hi, this is Dominic. We're talking about yesterday's Super Bowl.
We are talking about the Super Bowl. We will talk about all the stuff that nerds care about in a second. But we'll start with the game. And so the game went into overtime. And the old rules for overtime was first person scores a touchdown wins the game. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you kick the field goal, then the other team gets a chance to at least score again. But they changed the rules a couple years ago, and now the rule is both teams get a chance to possess the ball.
Right.
And so Kyle Shanahan receiving the ball first might not have been the smartest move, but we'll talk about that.
Right. I get the scenario you're talking about. Go on. Yeah, I didn't think about it. Yeah.
So, but anyway, so overtime is a 15-minute quarter. 15 minutes is the length of every quarter. And I thought that overtime meant you had 15 minutes to score. And if the second team doesn't score within that allotted 15 minutes, then the game would be over and San Francisco would be the world champions.
Yeah.
Because it was weird, though. It was like, why is Kansas City kind of like moseying down the field?
Right.
And I think San Francisco might have thought that because they kind of eased up on that last play.
Yeah.
So
they totally had the advantage at that point, Kansas City, in this weird way.
right. Because if the time had run down, they would just get the ball at the beginning of second overtime.
Yeah.
Which is like second breakfast for hobbits, I guess.
So they
Because
basically
you can't have a tie in the Super Bowl.
But they also have the additional advantage by the weird rule that they win as soon as they get a touchdown. So basically in that exact scenario, they just have as much time as they need to get a touchdown. Right. Which gives them, or
they still have the 4 down. So what would happen is if San Francisco stopped them on fourth down, game would be over.
Yes.
Right. But what Kansas City would have done was they would have kicked a field goal.
Yes.
And then it would be tied 22-22. And then it's the next score wins. That's why I think the clock is stupid.
Right.
Why even have a clock?
Right.
If you're going to let the other team just use it ad infinitum until they score. So, but I didn't know that until the game ended, and I was like, wait, why is Kansas City like? I mean, they ultimately scored a touchdown at the end, and it wouldn't have mattered. But they were in no hurry to kick a field goal. Like with 3 seconds left, you'd think, oh God, stop the clock, kick a field goal,
right.
Second overtime. But I think San Francisco let up at the very end because they were like, oh, we got them. There's only a couple seconds left. They're not trying to kick a field goal.
You're saying you think they didn't know the exact rule or didn't know?
Well, I think a couple of players said they didn't know the rule.
Oh,
even
God.
Shanahan was like, I'm not sure I knew the rule. So I think
that's fucked up. You're asking how I was doing. I was doing fine, but now I'm very mad.
Sorry. So yeah, Kansas City won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
After San Francisco led intentionally the whole game.
San Francisco really looked like they had it for a lot of the game.
I think the biggest mistake that San Francisco made was it was a minute and a half left in the game. It was a 3rd and 4.
Yep. Oh,
if you run the ball there,
you
take a lot of time off the clock and then kick the field goal. You only give Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes. Maybe he would have still marched down the field, but he would have had at least 50 seconds. 45 seconds to march down the field. Instead, he had a whole minute and 50 seconds.
Yeah, then that might have made all the difference. And this is sorry, we're getting real football nerdy here, but this speaks to the preference for pass over run that people are talking about all the time in the modern game. Every announcer is like, you should run the ball more. You should run the ball more. And those of us who watch Any Given Sunday, the movie, know that no, you should pass the ball more because it looks cooler on TV. What I where do you stand on that? Because it is true to
No,
actually win the game,
you
you
run the
should
ball.
run. Yeah.
I'm a Justin
Duh.
Fields guy. Like the whole knock against Justin Fields, he doesn't throw the ball enough.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think Kansas City has this weird like spell they put on the opposing team to make them to just stop running the ball, even though Kansas City has a terrible run defense.
Yeah.
They just hypnotize the other team, like, don't run the ball against us. And they don't, because against the Ravens,
Exactly. Exactly.
Lamar Jackson, one of the best rushing quarterback of all time,
One of the best rushing teams
one of the
the
best
whole
rushing teams
year.
of all time, decided we're going to throw the ball 50 times and give our running back
Why?
5 rushing attempts.
Exactly. Why? Why? How did that happen?
Taylor Swift. It's all Taylor Swift's fault.
Taylor Swift was like, "Don't run.
Don't run the ball.
Just don't run." Does she have a song called "Don't Run, Just
Maybe.
Pass"?
That might be. That might be what
And
it
she
is.
played it into their brains at night and was like, "You don't want to run, even though you're
Yeah.
good at it. You want to
Exactly.
pass."
And we suck at stopping it. So
Yeah.
just don't do it. And the other team doesn't do it.
You need
Because
to
Christian
calm down
McCaffrey-
with the run, basically.
Christian McCaffrey was killing them. I mean,
As
aside from
we
that
all expected he
fumble,
would. And
right.
yes, that 3rd and 4, casual
Give the ball to
observer.
McCaffrey.
Yep.
You would have won the game.
All the Niners fans and all people like you who just know the game were like, that 3rd and 4 turned it because
Don't drop back. Because dropping back to pass is the worst option because you get knocked out of field goal range if you do get set. I mean, I don't blame Purdy for throwing it away.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have called a pass to begin with, is my point.
Yes, you should have called a run.
Call a run play.
Apart from Lamar Jackson, you have the best running back in the league.
Yes.
Fuck.
CMC was good. I mean, I actually think Juwan Jennings would have been MVP had they won.
Because that beautiful play.
The trick play.
Juwan Jennings did 2 great things. I believe he caught a TD pass and
threw for a touchdown.
And he threw for a touchdown.
And he also had like a key 3rd down conversion.
Yeah.
When they were marching down the field, like if they had gotten stopped and Kansas City got the ball back, Juwan Jennings got a great catch.
Yeah, and oh my God. See, like I'm in that mode where when
you're in denial.
Well, it's not. You have to. It's like the spoiler thing. You have to go into media shutdown thing for a while because the Sports Center talk shows I'd ordinarily I ordinarily absorb casually. Now I have to like not have them on because they'll just be talking about my team losing for about 3 days, maybe a week. And if they had won, if in the alternate universe, they would just be replaying that one weird flea flicker. Right. Sorry, that's a hard word to say. that one really weird play they did that was so beautifully executed, and talking about that for all of history. But now it's just like a part of the game that Patrick Mahomes won.
I mean, it's it was actually encapsulated in the fact that the San Francisco kicker Moody had the record longest field goal kick in history.
Yep, he did.
And then 20 minutes later, Kansas City bested that record by 2 yards.
Yes, and Moody like missed a key point, which
didn't
end up mattering, but it was a thing.
I mean, it's the little thing. They say football is a game of inches. It was the missed PAT. It was the punt that just coincidentally bounced off the guy's foot.
Oh God, yes. Close plays.
But again, if not for those plays, the narrative around Patrick Mahomes would be different. Because right now, the Patrick Mahomes mystique has only grown. Yep. He's knocking on the door of GOAT status because he willed his team into a Super Bowl. It's because of Patrick Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes alone that all of the different decisions that the 49ers made went the way they did. That's what I hate about the quarterback as savior narrative.
Yeah, totally.
Is that like it's not just the quarterback. The quarterback can will someone to catch the ball.
Yeah.
But
in fact, the moment when I felt most sure that the 49ers would win, I don't know if you got this feeling, but was when Mahomes ran it himself, and I thought he was going to start playing hero ball. And okay, for you non-nerds, part of the quarterback savior narrative is you are either game manager or when shit is going against you, quarterbacks sometimes try to do too much, including like run because no one else is going to catch the ball, blah blah. They try to do too much and it implodes. See Josh Allen. So I thought at that moment, okay, he's desperate. He's really desperate. He's gonna start that running all the time thing. He's got no one to throw it to. We got it. Of course,
Then he runs for like 30 yards.
10 minutes later, he just ran to win the game. Like Lamar Jackson should have done.
Like he should have done, exactly. Travis Kelce was absent the entire game. He was too busy tackling his coach than catching passes for like half. I mean, it was like at halftime he only had one catch. And I told my friend who we were watching the game together, I was like, Travis Kelce is going to have like a monster second half.
Yeah, and I think he did, right?
He did.
If you like, I'm at any time you want, we can go into the other pop cultural tangential levels of it, because it is actually paining me to talk about just the pure game,
the game itself,
the pure game of it. Because,
well, if we're going to continue doing these podcasts for the next several months.
Well, by the way, football season is over, so we'll have.
Well, it's not. Football season for me has just begun.
Oh,
because it's now all draft all the time.
Oh, right. It's your thing.
And
right.
The Bears own the #1 pick.
All the scenarios. So
all the scenarios we still own.
Yeah. So are they still making noises that they'll trade that, or we won't know that till like really close?
We don't know. I mean, I feel like the Bears are doing like. I don't want to play poker with the GM of the Bears because I have no idea what direction he's going to go. And it's funny that the best Super Bowl commercial wasn't even aired during the Super Bowl. It was an Instagram post that the Chicago Bears put out as soon as the game was over, and it was just a post of like several televisions, and on the televisions were images of the players except Justin Fields. He was the one player that didn't show up in these video clips. But several talking heads of the Sports Center and Fox Sports ilk speculating about what the Bears are going to do with the #1 pick.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if you're pro Justin, you can interpret it one way. If you're pro Caleb Williams, you can interpret it one way. And I think it's the best of both worlds for the GM because he's still he still has all the options.
Right.
So I don't know what he's going to do. I have my preference, as everyone who listens to this podcast knows. But
yeah,
the thing about like the Patrick Mahomes savior quarterback narrative is that could, if they're very influenced by that, and Ryan Poles used to be in the front office in Kansas City, maybe he gets rid of his guy and drafts this alleged savior in waiting.
There's a narrative that Caleb Williams could be that kind of guy, right?
He's the next Patrick Mahomes, and I feel like whenever someone is dubbed the next whatever, it's never going to be that, and it's especially as Mahomes's mythology increases, it's going to be even that much harder to live up to that.
Right.
And if Caleb Williams does come in and the Bears struggle next year,
right,
the same fans who were like calling for the ouster of Justin Fields are going to say Caleb sucks, we need to get another quarterback.
So you're back to that loop has happened a lot. I believe the Raiders have been stuck in that loop for a while. Quarterback. But here, let me ask you, and also for those of listening who don't super follow the NFL draft, and my understanding is like part of the drama of it is like the scenario could be like they traded like the day of or like minutes before, right? It's in the timing of when the value will be the most based on
how bad the other teams. Again, that's why I think it's to the Bears' benefit as well to kind of like keep the hype around Caleb Fields as high as possible.
Caleb, you just
mashed
Caleb them
Fields
up.
Yeah, I meant Caleb.
That would solve all your problems if you could just amalgam them into one person.
Actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
No, but for both though, you want to make it seem like, do I want it? We're going to keep Justin or we're going to draft Caleb, because you want the teams who will either trade for Justin or trade for the #1 pick to give you the farm for either one.
Yeah.
Right. So like, and one of the most intriguing things, because again, if you watch SportsCenter once the Super Bowl high wears off, and
I will. Maybe it'll be a week. Maybe a week from then.
It's going to be all Bears because the conversation around, at least for NFL circles, is going to be, what are they going to do with the pick? There's going to be all of the speculation, and the intrigue that's added is the fact that the team with the #2 pick are the Washington Commanders.
Okay.
And that's significant because Caleb Williams is from Washington. He grew up in DC. And then the Commanders just hired Caleb's college offensive coordinator to be their offensive coordinator.
Right.
So
it's like they want to set up that it looks like they're making a nest for him to just land.
Yes.
Right.
And then the other thing is like the Commanders have new ownership. Magic Johnson's one of their owners, a former executive from the Golden State Warriors is one of the.
Oh, right, that guy. Yeah.
I think he's the GM. So like they have this kind of like splashy front office who might want to make a splash,
Mhm.
you know, and say like we're going to give you everything so that we can bring our kid home.
Yeah.
So there's that added intrigue. So yeah, I mean, and I don't know where we're going to go.
But wait, Keith, and if I may add, for you, from what I know about your fandom, the team you root for is the Bears, and the team you root against is the Commanders. Is that
well,
right?
yeah,
or the team you have
I openly rejected rooting for Washington because I grew up near the Washington area, and my entire family were Washington's football team fans.
Right. But so, I mean, so there is a Bears versus Commanders narrative there.
Sure.
Too, right?
And I think especially if it does go that way, you know, I have to hope that Caleb Williams doesn't succeed because that's the other thing that's driving the decision making is that there's this FOMO about if we don't draft Caleb Williams, he's going to go and be the superstar because that's what happened.
And Washington will be good.
Yeah, and Washington will be good all of a sudden because that's what happened with Patrick Mahomes. Like the Bears had a chance to draft Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
But we decided to draft Mitch Trubisky instead.
Okay.
Last year, we had.
How did you not know by him being named Mitch Trubisky that was not a good idea, by the way?
And we traded up. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
And then last year, we had the number 1 pick. And, you know, people in hindsight say, well, you passed on CJ Stroud, which I don't buy into because the number 1 pick last year was not CJ Stroud.
Right. No one knew. I mean,
no one knew CJ.
No one knows which quarterback is going to be an actual star. You just have like a 1 in 3 chance.
I mean, your whole thing about Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy was the last person drafted, and he was playing in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, just because you're drafted, that's the thing. That's what scares me about Caleb Williams. We're putting all of these hopes and dreams on this one guy, and the number 1 pick last year wasn't the best quarterback. It was the number 2. So what's going to happen is that like we do draft Caleb Williams number 1, and it turns out Drake May becomes the best quarterback in this class.
Do you remember who was the last number 1 pick quarterback who actually turned into top 5 actual quarterback?
Andrew Luck.
Yeah, okay. That sounds right. Okay.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, like he was the last number 1 pick who might be good, but he's still like you don't know if he's going to be good.
Yeah, I mean he's pretty strong. Okay.
But he's not. I mean, but is he? That's the thing. Like he's got stats, but his team isn't great. Kyler Murray went number 1. He's got an Asian American heritage, and actually Kyler Murray is I find Caleb Williams to be more Kyler Murray-esque than Patrick Mahomes-esque.
Yeah, I mean, I like Kyler Murray pretty much. Can I say one more thing on the 49ers fandom, and then the pain will just overtake me? But because we were talking about the various narratives, and all the narratives, unfortunately, are going to get smushed under Patrick Mahomes as the GOAT or not. That's part of the annoying thing. All the narratives that could have happened, we're just going to be hearing, is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT or not, for like a year, forever. But anyway, one of the narratives that got questioned, Brock Purdy played really well.
Yeah.
He's
not the reason they lost.
He's not the reason they lost. He had a few flubs, but he played with poise and made a lot of really important plays. And there were a lot of 50-50 plays, may or may not have been. But the narrative of is Brock Purdy, who is Mr. Relevant, and no one likes even saying he's a good quarterback because they don't want to cop to the thing that the draft system doesn't actually work.
Right.
That's a whole other story. But let's say Brock Purdy would prove out the system that the draft doesn't mean shit because there's this guy out there who is actually capable of winning a Super Bowl, and you just scouted him wrong.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I had all my ulterior motives in the Super Bowl, in the AFC Championship, again, tied to my Justin Fields thing with Lamar and even with Brock, because like the 49ers represent, you don't put all your hopes in one guy, you build a team. And
yes.
And he wasn't the guy.
Yeah.
Just because you draft someone high in the draft, actually the guy we took last was the guy, not the guy we took second.
Right. So your thinking is more conservative on the draft gambling part and like trade the value of the pick.
Especially if we can get a wide receiver, we can get a stud tackle, we can get a stud edge rusher. Like you got to get all those other, because again, I mean, except for like the last drive, the reason the Chiefs won the game is because Chris Jones got in Brock Purdy's grill when Kyle Shanahan called a pass play. He should have called a run. Yes.
And Chris Jones made the plays he needed to make, and fucking good for him.
One other, and I swear we'll move on from the game. I did think San Francisco had like all of the stars lined for them solely because it was also Lunar New Year this weekend.
Yep.
And you would think the team that represents red and gold, and like
right.
all the Asian Americans would have gotten the
looks
New Year
like a red envelope. Looks like one of these. These are 49er colors. This is my Chinese name, Ma. Gongxi Fatsai. Gongxi Gongxi. Fucking 49ers.
They just ruined
Yeah.
your Lunar New Year, didn't they?
Well, no, because it was a good game. It was a good game.
It was a good game. It was boring for a little, like,
Oh, right. The first half was a little
45 minutes of it, but
dry, but
towards
God, that second half, the drama was like, was there not quite a lot of drama for those of us, who just watch for the drama and the excitement of it?
absolutely.
The last 30 minutes were just like every play is like, fuck.
And again, game of inches. It
Yeah.
was a game of inches. One thing goes one other way.
Yeah.
You get a 3 and out, and then the ball just, because at first we were like, why are you trying to pick up the ball?
Yeah.
But he saw it bounce off his teammate's foot, and
yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, that was one of those. But yeah, no, and my friend Michael would agree with you that 3 and 4 play was maybe the deciding thing.
I mean, I thought
3rd down and 4.
You're marching down the field. There's like, it's past the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
You gotta let the clock run down.
Yeah. And what happened? You
gotta go for the jugular
right
at that moment.
Right. All that was wrong.
Have the clock on your side.
I mean, it really makes me think, now I'm getting tangential. Do you think there's an actual conspiracy that says
someone got into Shannon's here and said, like, pass it?
No, do you think like Big TV says, please pass the ball even when you should run it? Because
I don't know, but I don't think it's scripted like a lot of people do. I don't think it's rigged. I do think there's just something about, to your point, this notion that throwing the ball all over the field is the only way to win.
Right.
When like, it's less sexy to just like run inside zone all the time. Yeah. But if it's effective, I don't give a shit how you get the ball down the field, as long as you get the ball down.
And Christian McCaffrey is sexy, all right? I find him sexy. And Lamar Jackson,
like,
anyway.
Because, I mean, the other thing, too, is that, like, well, you could say the Chiefs had 2 timeouts. But if you make them burn timeouts on defense, then Mahomes has even less time to get down the field. But you gave him 1 minute and 50 seconds plus 2 timeouts to go down the field. Because what happens when you make an incomplete pass, the clock stops.
Yeah.
When you run the ball and you stay in bounds, the clock keeps going unless someone calls timeout. Right. So that's why I know it's 3rd down. If you get the 1st down, game's over.
Yeah. That's
if you don't get the first.
I can't do it for much more, Keith. Go on, but go on, finish your thought.
Even if you get 1 extra, you kick the field goal anyway.
Yeah.
Get one or 2 more yards running the ball.
Yeah.
Not only get the field goal and the 3 points, you get like 30 seconds off the clock. So
yeah, we should have done that. And there was that one key moment when Mahomes ran and it was a mistake, right? Because of what you just said. He ran and it looked like a mistake because he took too much time over the clock and he almost ran himself out of the game, but not quite enough, and then he won it.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Well, that's not the only reason
people tune into
the Super Bowl.
Please, let's talk about
other things happen.
Another aspect of the Super Bowl, please.
Watching the Super Bowl is different for me than watching any other like football game, because typically I watch football games like on a slight delay so I can fast forward through the commercials.
Got it.
But with the Super Bowl, one of the draws of the game is you watch the commercials. And particularly in our space, we watch for the movie trailers. We'll talk about Deadpool in a second. So I'm going to dedicate an entire segment to Deadpool.
Deadpool dedicated. Yeah. Block.
Deadpool-cated. If you take Deadpool out, was there any other, doesn't even have to be a movie trailer, is there another ad that you watched during the game that stood out?
It's not coming to mind immediately. I think there was one that'll take me a minute to remember it because I was really invested in the game and
sure. I mean, you're probably not the right person to ask.
Not think because no, I know. I sometimes watch the Super Bowl in that lens when I don't have a team involved and I'm like, oh, the ads. But in this case, it was opposite. I was like, oh, the ads. I can just let my heart settle. I don't really know what the ad is doing.
Right.
That one with Affleck and Lopez was funny.
That was my favorite. That was my favorite non-movie trailer for sure.
That was funny.
And I particularly liked Matt Damon in it.
Yeah.
Totally. He was my favorite aspect of that ad. And Tom Brady was in like a fuck ton of ads last night. I don't know why did Tom Brady become like the
It's-
most lauded pitchman in the history of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think that's a big mystery, but yeah, but he was ubiquitous. What other ads were there that I missed? Well, because I was so
So
upset.
going back to the movie trailers, the only like there was a movie trailer for Planet of the Apes, or I guess it's called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. There's too many
Yes,
ofs and does in that
definitely
title.
too many ofs and does,
And there was a Twisters trailer, which is the
right?
sequel to Twister. I'm assuming it's a sequel. I didn't see
It's,
Helen Hunt and
it's a soft
R.I.P.
re it's a
Bill
soft
Paxton.
reboot of the Twister universe.
I don't know. It's not Twister without Helen Hunt and Flying
It's
Cow.
no, yeah, or the Van Halen song, but yeah, go on.
But I think there was also
The Wicked movie looks kind
Wicked.
of
Yes,
cool.
no, I actually wrote about the Wicked trailer. That was the one I was
Right,
most excited for, not named Deadpool,
right.
only because it's our guy, John Chu, directing.
Yep,
He's
John
become
Chu.
the go-to Broadway adaptation
Both
director.
musicals and G.I. Joe. That's what that guy does.
Exactly.
Ain't that great?
That's
Yeah,
like it's like my entire personality,
yeah,
Broadway and GI Joe.
yeah.
And I like the trailer. I'm surprised some of the vitriol that trailer is getting online.
Which one? The Wicked one?
The Wicked one,
Uh,
apparently, like it looks bad. It looks ugly, and like the lighting is horrible. And why do all modern movies look like this? I mean, I was like just surprised at film Twitter is like. Well, let me take that back. I'm not surprised film Twitter is ripping it apart because it's film Twitter, but I thought it looked really good. Again, I'm a fan of the musical. I
yeah.
really enjoy the Wicked musical, and I'm a fan of John's.
I
Shout out to
John
John Chu.
Chu, John Chu, you are great. I watched your student film way back when that was a musical. I don't remember the name of it, but it was great, and I've been a fan of John Chu
I mean,
since
his
then.
his like start was in dance videos and,
Yeah,
and like the Justin Bieber documentary and the Step It Up movies. So
I have to say, as a partial segue, well, whatever, just a note, I stayed up all night, not watching Sports Center, of course, and playing Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League somewhere. We can talk about that a little more if you want, but my only point is my concern about the Wicked trailer discourse you're just talking about, and this is an overarching just fear, anxiety, is that like there's a locked in misogyny response for basically anything that comes out now,
yeah,
even if it's coded as I'm complaining about something else, it's coded. But anything that comes out where the woman is centered, recentered from in a different way. I mean, I guess not really like the World of Oz and that whatever was always
and yeah, and I
girl
don't know, Broadway
protagonist, but
musicals centering like women and gay people is kind of like it's
right. But when you do that thing, this happened with Hamilton when it goes
sure.
when people haven't watched who aren't into the Broadway part of it and it comes out as a movie, a new set of discourse rules
Sure. Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. And then like the turn against Hamilton was swift and
Right.
severe
And
when
based
the
on a
movie.
disconnect from, the core where it started to the things that come into play when you make a big movie. I kind of think
Right.
of that as a no one's fault problem, but it happened, right?
No, that's a good point. And I actually didn't think about it. And it's interesting because like some of the discourse over the last few months with Mean Girls and Wonka
Right,
advertising
right.
was they were hiding the fact it was a musical in the
Mm,
trailers for Mean Girls and Wonka. And like some of the reasonings behind that was, well, our test audiences or like whatever surveys say that people don't like musicals.
right.
And but my only retort to that is, well, won't they be even more pissed if they hate musicals and they go into this movie not knowing it's a musical? And like the first 5 seconds of Wonka is Timothy Chalamet singing a ballad on top of a boat. Like, come on.
Yeah, you need like a content warning there, kind of. This is a musical, okay?
Yeah, like then you should lean into the. I mean, but you know, I think that's going to be the case. We didn't get the trailer last night for this, but it's another big movie coming out this year. I thought we would get a trailer. Joker 2, we've talked about.
Right, right,
That's a perfect example of a movie that
right,
is reportedly leaning into the musical
right,
piece and the female lead,
right.
and its fan base is very much the aggro male,
Yeah.
potentially violent, reactionary, fan base. So
Yeah, and I
we'll
think
see what that
I'm
looks like.
I think I'm with you and hoping for Joker 2 to be a musical, as much musical as it can be, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the rumor that it's a full on music. It's not even just like there's going to be
Yeah.
a musical scene like the Marvels. It's a full on musical.
Yeah, and people are gonna hate it. The bros are
and,
gonna
and
hate
I'm
it.
gonna love it.
And
So
we're gonna yeah, and again, this is only worth thinking because I think yes, the musical part does map onto the misogyny problem a little bit. It's like anything the musical, so there's some kind of feminine energy going on there that we automatically hates without thinking about it. And of course, it may be true that demographically in the world, musicals actually are just for a niche audience, and that's a problem when you make a movie because movies are supposed to be for blah 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 everybody.
Right.
Or expensive movies are. And we people who like musicals of any kind will fight against that, I guess, our whole lives. I don't know. There's
We
there's
just
no
decided to be the most niche people ever. I think
yeah
is part of the problem.
yeah
Well,
and
let's stop avoiding the Wolverine room. What did you think of the Deadpool trailer? One, it's not called Deadpool 3. That was a big surprise.
yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine is what it's called, right? That I think that's awesome. It's very just zeroing in on the title, it's very comic booky, shout outy kind of, there are all these comic books where, Batman and Superman, the pairing is the title is just two superhero names paired by an ampersand.
I'm surprised they didn't go for more of a, Deadpool v Wolverine Dawn of Time Travel or something.
Right.
Like, you'd think they take a shot at
Right.
the Warner Brothers or something.
You'd think, yeah, because that was a bad example of how that played out. I still think Batman versus Superman is a great title, so much so that they pre-imagined it in that Will Smith movie.
Right.
But yeah, not that great a movie. Anyway, or anyway, let's not go
No,
down
that's
that
not. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to go down a DC rabbit hole.
Deadpool and Wolverine. Did you notice that? I don't know if this is still the case. I tried to share it on Facebook and it was not shareable because it violated Facebook's content standards.
It's funny because it wasn't even a Red Band trailer, was it? It was a pretty
Yeah, so I don't know if that was
straightforward.
Facebook's mistake or is that some weird troll. Anyway, it wasn't a Red Band trailer. It wasn't like it didn't have an exceptional amount of gore or anything like that. And that I guess because I sort of knew what was going to happen, they were just going to reveal Wolverine. I enjoyed it and I thought it was okay. I like that it starts from the point of Deadpool extra trolling the whole lore of the MCU so far because I mean we have to talk about this the Broadway. Like there's a real problem. Like the lore is really avalanching on people now, and it feels not fun anymore but oppressive. So it really is helpful for someone like Deadpool to come in and make fun of the lore. Lampshaded essentially. I go like, just make fun of this fucking lore thing that has got everyone, in a twist to remember which movie they're watching. So that angle is okay. I hope they don't like that isn't like a joke that they just do 100 times, but it's interesting.
Well, it is Deadpool. They like to do the same joke 100 times regardless.
Right. Marvel Jesus. Yeah, what do you think?
I think I've mentioned several times that I'm not the biggest fan of Deadpool anyway, as as a character, or even like the films I think are fine. Never loved the comic book character. It's not like it's not my taste to the Deadpool books, I guess it's just I already have a built-in dislike of Rob Liefeld, and it's just like, why would I like?
Understandably, yeah.
Well, and I think Deadpool is like very much the like what you think 13-year-old boys would like, and
yeah,
it just kind of like just so happens that the biggest audience for that film and comics are 13-year-old boys or people.
Just really quick, I hope they have a gag in the movie about the pouches. Have they had a gag about in the Deadpool movie so far about the pouches?
No, I don't know. It's because of the Rob Liefeld always draws pouches.
Yeah, it was a 90s image thing. Like all the costumes had way too many pouches and gear, and you're like, does Cyclops have that many like
things
accessories like Batman? Anyway,
well, there's also the thing that Rob Liefeld can't draw feet, and I wonder, are there scenes where you don't see Deadpool's feet? Maybe that's.
I think they did a gag about the feet, but anyway, sorry, that was just an aside.
I will say, like, I do find it. I'm interested in how they plan to like merge him into the MCU because this, bury the lead. This is not just Deadpool 3.
Yeah,
here comes Wolverine. Deadpool 3. Here comes Wolverine, and we're also part of the MCU, and that's the thing I'm most interested in is how are they. Of course, they show the TVA shows up, and that's the main.
It's mainly in the Loki world, the trailer.
Right.
It's like 70% in the world of Loki, the TV show.
Yeah, and that's the main entryway from their Fox world, and you see like, and these were kind of leaked in some of the photos that came off set. There's like a destroyed 20th Century Fox logo behind Deadpool.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, so I think some of it's going to take place in the 20th Century Fox, like,
right.
And there's like a destroyed one behind Deadpool.
Right.
And
that's funny.
That's when he and Wolverine, I think, first encounter one another. I was surprised they didn't show Wolverine at all. I thought we would get like a money shot at least of Hugh Jackman. You only see him from behind a couple times.
Maybe they're still CGI fine-tuning his appearance.
Maybe they're like, you're not working out hard enough, goddamn.
Yeah,
You're a 65-year-old man.
we need to put another CGI skin on you, and maybe we ran out of time. I don't know. I'm very excited personally by the idea that it'll go big on the lore, connect it all together, but make it fun because it's through Deadpool's POV. You know what I'm saying? Like, because honestly speaking, all that TVA stuff bums me out because I also have reached the point when the lore is too much, and I'm a comics fan.
Yeah.
And as a comics fan, I don't know if you ever read this. It happened with me with X-Men. It was like at a point like the lore is no longer fun, and it's just like, oh, this is just like another X-Men thing I have to keep track of. I'm gonna stop reading comic books for a while.
Oh, for sure. I've done that many times.
Yeah, I think every comics fan of any length has. So Marvel, the cinematic universe, is absolutely at that point with a huger audience than they've ever had. Even their core audience is going, this is a lot to fucking keep track of, dudes. I kind of just want a fun movie. But at the same time, as per their plan, they have to go big because they have to get Deadpool and the 20th Century Fox side and all these other characters reintegrated. And you can only do that through some sort of multiversal plot mechanic, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's both clever, ambitious, and I'm hopeful that Deadpool is the one who sort of eases people into that because he's the funny one and he can make it seem like more of a funny joke rather than like Carol Danvers talking about like, portals for like 20 minutes and like absolutely no one cares. You know what I mean?
Even like the fourth wall breaking in She-Hulk.
Right.
Like, I wonder, they didn't really explain that. Not that they need, I mean, this is the other thing. I don't want to get into like that. There needs to be an in-universe explanation for every little thing.
Sure.
That gets also oppressive and mind-numbing. But, it's interesting that She-Hulk got the reception that it did get. And I think it ties back to what we said about, I think there's a certain segment of fans that, quality of the show irrespective.
Yeah.
They just see female lead shoved down our throats, because it's not white male centered.
Yeah. And they have an automatic response with a non-critical one. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But I will say that with She-Hulk, they have already set the precedent in the MCU that like we have characters without even the whole TVA explanation that can look at the camera, could go through the screen and visit Robot Kevin in the Marvel Studios Burbank office.
Yeah. Because Deadpool's the only one that does that. And I wonder, now I want to start a fight by saying, did She-Hulk do that before Deadpool? I don't know. I don't know the years.
That's a good question. I don't
know. I mean, there have been fourth wall breaking characters. Ambush Bug comes to mind on the DC side, but please do make a movie of Ambush Bug, but I know it's probably not going to happen.
Hey, James Gunn might. Who knows?
He's and rest in peace, Keith Giffen. Sorry, not you, Keith, but another guy named Keith. Rest in peace to Keith Giffen, the artist, the comics creator who passed away recently. Anyway, sorry, tangent. Also, Green, She-Hulk did a lot of funny breaking fourth wall gags in her comic, and I don't know if she did it before Deadpool became famous for that.
I mean, we'll see, like with the way they will integrate, because it's the only Marvel movie coming out this year, I think.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, it's the only
Marvel movies on the docket.
So it's like a good rest for people also who are sick of the whole thing. the volume.
Yeah, 24 is a down year for the comic book films because it's Deadpool and then it's Joker, and that's it. Like, I mean, if there's something that we're leaving out, please like let us know in the comments. But
no, well, there's Madam Web. I don't know if you want to talk about Madam Web or not. I do, because that's the one that has actual superheroes in it, as opposed to Deadpool the anti-hero and Wolverine the rebooted hero. And
what I love about the Sony Marvel movies is that I don't think the folks at Sony either know or have told their actors that they're not Marvel Studios. Because I don't know if you saw this kind of trended a couple weeks ago that like Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, a couple other actors from the film, like when they post their Instagram posts about Madam Web, they're tagging Marvel Studios, or they're like saying things in interviews like, I'm so excited to be part of the Marvel universe.
Oh yeah, you're right. They get the terminology wrong.
Right, because like, to nerds, there is a differentiation between like the whole excitement around Deadpool is that they're taking this whole other universe of Marvel characters and shoving them into the proper Marvel Studios universe, the MCU. And I mean, this is the thing, like for any layman,
No
they
one
don't understand that
cares.
Robert Pattinson's Batman is not the same Batman as Ben Affleck's Batman or Michael
Right,
Keaton.
right.
Like these are all these different Batmans and everything, but no one knows that.
Right.
It's the same thing over here. Like I'm in a Spider-Man movie. And
Right.
there was a whole back and forth about who is the Spider-Man in the Madam Web universe, because I think there was the original plan was they were like you were going to learn through the course of the film that it was actually taking place in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Verse.
Really?
That's what
Which
the original plan was.
that'd make me happy.
Yeah, well, especially for you as an amazing Spider-Man fanboy. Oh, by the way, you would get a kick out of one of my more recent purchases.
Oh,
Holding
there's
up a Andrew Garfield action figure for those of you listening.
yes, specifically Andrew Garfield here. Yeah. How he gets his hair in the mask, I never know. It's too bushy. But anyway.
But then again, going back to this notion of like the Sony executives just kind of being whatever, they were like, well, Tom Holland is Spider-Man now, so let's make this part of the Tom Holland universe.
Uh-huh.
Because I think when it was in the Andrew Garfield universe, it was a period piece set in the 90s. Because for the timeline to match up, Madam Web had to take place 30 years ago.
Okay.
Because
right.
Madam Web typically in the comics is an old lady.
Well, there are a couple things going on there, but go on and
so I don't know. I mean,
I
so they had to take out all the references to the 90s
Mm.
as well to make it so that Tom Holland was the Spider-Man of the universe, I think.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. So like there was all these kind of weird machinations, and ultimately I think it just exists in its own universe.
Well, yeah, and again, big caveat: the Sony Spider-Man universe, whatever it is not as intricately planned, let's say, or as intentional as any of the cinematic universe. But I do want to give some love to Madam Web. I want to update the thing you just said, because again, to be fair, we shouldn't be like there are no superhero movies because the first one has all women and we don't think about it.
And
much.
that's not right.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
That's a
not the reason.
That's a marketing mistake on their. That's marketing confusion on their part. But there are a couple reasons to think that Madam Web will either be a really good movie or be one of those movies that I really like, even though it's thought of as a bad movie. It has Jessica Jones DNA. Some of the director worked on Jessica Jones a bit.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It has some of that vibe of like urban, ugly, like the ugly crime dynamics that Jessica Jones really dealt with. And of course, women protagonists. And then it was a surprise in the trailer that it actually becomes a whole squad of Spider Universe adjacent woman characters, including Anya Corazon, including that other one, not Jessica Drew, who's Spider-Woman Prime, but there have been very Spider-Women or Spider female characters, and like Anya Corazon is a fairly obscure one. So when it was like, oh, there's going to be 3 of them, and there'll be the various Spider-Women who we don't see that often, my fanboy is like, that's fucking awesome. That's awesome in concept. And again, this maps onto my Suicide Squad game love. I think it's awesome that when they do a game with Suicide Squad and not Batman. This is like the equivalent of that, because it's like this movie has no Spider-Man in it, but it's got all the Spider-Woman support characters.
And what's cool is that the Sydney Sweeney Spider-Woman character is wearing like the cool black costume with the proper Venom spider logo.
Yeah.
And it makes me wish that like Venom had his Venom logo, because that's a cool logo.
Yeah, totally. And wow, we won't even get the lore of why that exists, but yeah. But that costume is a cool costume. I think I want to say she's the least known Spider-Woman as far as the comics origin, the one who wore that costume, but we'll see. And I'm not remembering off the top of my head. I think there's Cassandra and Anya Corazon, and for example, there's no evidence that Silk is in the movie, but if Silk showed up, I'd just fucking die.
I mean, and it could happen.
And it could happen.
It could. And then the bad guy, Ezekiel
is from Silk. This is heavily involved in the Silk side of things.
Right. But does he wear his own spider costume in the comics? He doesn't have.
I think he does at some point. I mean, and full disclaimer, I think Ezekiel is a stupid character. I'm not a fan of him as a character, but he is a character in the Spider-Man universe.
Yeah,
that lore gets really weird.
Well, and then again, going back to like the cinematic Spider-Verse, and not to be confused with the animated Spider-Verse.
Yes,
but I think to your point around Sony not knowing what the fuck they're doing, and this is not a knock on all female Madam Web. It's just a knock on Sony's take on the Spider Universe, because again, they have Kraven the Hunter coming out. I don't know if that's this year or not, but that's a movie that's
I don't know
coming out
either.
at some point.
Oh yeah, and the other Spider-Verse movie probably, but I think it's not a firm date on that one either.
Right. And then
All
you
these are
already
Sony
have
movies, right?
right, and you already have Morbius in the 2 Venom movies, and like they all, like, the big elephant in those rooms is that they can't actually use Spider-Man in any of them. So it's
Yes.
like how far can you take a Spider-Man movie without the guy? Because I think at least with Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, you're set. Even the Birds of Prey does a really good job of doing this. The movie, I mean, is you
Yeah.
turn the camera to the left and censor on these other characters still in that world. The
Right.
problem with the Spider-Verse movies, the live action ones, is that I think the difference to me is it feels like the studio is trying to cash in on this character that they can't actually use.
Right. Yeah, and that's
No one
totally
gives a shit about all of these like side Spider-Man like Morbius and Craven.
right. Right. But my counter argument would be, and again, this is like a vain hope for a better world. If you introduce Spider Women, you have the hero.
If the movie's
it doesn't have to be about Spider-Man. Spider-Woman is kind of the same thing, but a woman. And 3 of them. Anyway, yes, but the movie, you're right, has to be good, and we don't have evidence that like it will be. We don't have that evidence. We have only hopes for scenarios.
I am loving the press tour though, because Dakota Johnson already has like this dry humor, this kind of like very,
yeah,
dry delivery when she talks to people anyway.
Yeah.
And then there's this interview that went viral a couple weeks ago where like, because I don't know if you know this, there's a line from the trailer that kind of got memed, and I don't honestly know why. I mean, I guess it's just kind of like, again, Dakota Johnson delivers the line very dryly, and it's a ridiculous comic book exposition thing where it's like, my mother died in the Amazon studying spiders or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so the interviewer asks her, like, what does she think about going viral? And she was like, what are you talking about? And like, like
what?
people are like making TikTok, like, but why? Like, she's trying to get him to say because your line delivery sucked, but he's too nervous because he's sitting across the way from Dakota Johnson. And it's just like, I just love her making people uncomfortable.
Nice.
And I know you wanted to do the Madam Web press tour, but I'm sure you would not have been made uncomfortable had you.
Oh no, yeah, and I defer till Laura's going to do a great job. That's just based on who lives where. But yeah, and by the way, that kind of snide attitude is exactly what a spider hero should have.
Great point.
That's the personality that we want. So yeah, I'm in that weird camp of I am pretty excited for Madam Web. I'll just say that right now.
Yeah, no, hey, everyone's got their thing. Your thing is liking the obscure comic book thing that nobody else does.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of obscure comic book things,
okay,
what's nerd poppin', Dominic? And do we have something special to share with our listeners?
We do have something special. Thanks for prompting. So we're working on this song project called, the working title is of our group is 12 Valentines, which it's Valentine's Day this week. The 12 Valentines thing refers to a Korean thing that I won't go into, but I'm just saying that because it's on theme for this whole Valentine's Day week. And just to be clear, it's original pop songs, and some of them are nerdy. I just want to get that out because like they're not all nerdy. Some of them are. Some of them are just supposed to be pop songs by Taylor Swift or like whoever, or an indie pop artist like that. One of them is a DC Universe related sort of re-lyric. And so I'll ask this first to set up. Are you familiar with the Rihanna song 4 or 5 Seconds?
Yeah.
Okay. So can I play this thing? This would be a premiere of this content. It's a teaser for our crowdfunding campaign.
Very exciting.
Okay. And again, as with all crowdfunding projects, it's a little rough. The concept is if we got a little bit more money, we could make this better. We're going to make it okay. Got a little bit more money, we could make it a lot better. So that's
so go to the coffee page.
Yeah. This is for 12 Valentines, an EP called 6 Secret Songs or Secret 6 Songs, something like that. And it's the crowdfunding is at 12valentines.net, or it's fi/dama, which we'll link to somewhere. And this is a snippet of a song that we might do if we get all our resources together. It's a rough version of a snippet.
And I know that in blackest night and in brightest day I see ya. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power.
And we will link to all of your various links to get more crowdfunding on that. So glad we were able to wear that snippet on the podcast.
Great. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, that's nerd popping. That's one thing. And what's nerd popping with you?
Yeah, well, I want to say, we were mentioning earlier about how the ampersand has become the main nerd movie thing with, you had Batman and Robin, and now you have Deadpool and Wolverine. A movie that was announced a couple weeks ago that we didn't get to talk about because we didn't podcast is The Mandalorian and Grogu is a movie that's coming out, which is I don't know if they're doing it in lieu of season 4 of The Mandalorian, but they're doing a Mandalorian movie and they're calling it Mandalorian and Grogu. The reason I'm bringing it up is that we didn't talk about this last week and I felt bad about it because I wanted to mention the passing of Carl Weathers.
Yeah, Carl Weathers.
Who plays Grief Karga in The Mandalorian, but is also best known as Action Jackson and Apollo Creed and the guy from Predators, which I can't remember his name all of a sudden.
Oh, right. But one of the guys in Predator. Yeah.
But and the Schwarzenegger commercial last night was also very good.
Yep.
Like that. But so yeah, shout out to Carl Weathers when he passed a couple weeks ago or last week, I guess, was big deal in the Nerds of Color space. So yeah,
the Creed universe is still
which is still going on strong,
ongoing part of the Rocky universe, and yeah,
and Grief Karga was such a great character in The Mandalorian. It's sad that he won't be back.
Yeah. But, Carl Weathers, a great performer, seems like a solid guy. I mean, literally very solid, but just seems like a guy with a good heart, and gave us a lot.
Shout out Carl Weathers. And I recall seeing an RIP in memoriam for him during the Super Bowl last night. I didn't know what the context was. So if anyone can let me know what the context was, I don't know if he was supposed to be in a commercial.
Yeah.
But I just remember looking up and seeing RIP Carl Weathers and thinking do they do in memoriams at the Super Bowl now? Is that a thing?
I don't know. Just briefly, do we know when the Mandalorian movie is coming out or no?
I think it's due for 2025 or 2026. So I don't.
Okay.
They announced it at the same time they announced the second season of Ahsoka. So the whole Dave Filoni universe is expanding.
Yeah, which is a good bet if you're in the Star Wars side of things. Dave Filoni is good.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, and again, The Mandalorian as a movie, we also didn't talk about Pedro Pascal's potential casting as Mr. Fantastic.
Someone said that was for sure.
Yeah, apparently I don't know if someone at SAG confirmed it or his agent accidentally confirmed it or something, but what was rumored a couple months.
You froze.
Officially announced it, but it seems like it's all set.
Probably as we're talking right now, the official announcement is coming out or something.
I'm not 100% sure how I feel about Pedro Pascal's Mr. Fantastic, to be honest. But I had my heart set on William Jackson Harper. But
I know you did. I remember you talking about it, and he ended up being in Quantumania in a not particularly.
But again, it's not the first time. You were talking on social media about Marvel actors who could cross over and play two different characters.
Oh yeah, Marvel 2 first. I don't know if I got all of them. They're just a few. I thought we talked about this before. Gemma Chan, Chris Evans.
If now it's a multiverse, right?
Yes. You can technically Chris Evans is the biggest one, and
Mahershala Ali is a triple.
He's a triple, yes,
because he's Cottonmouth and Luke Cage. He's going to be Blade eventually. I don't know. That's the other thing. Who knows if he'll ever be Blade because that movie can't get off the ground.
Right.
He's also the Prowler in the animated Spider-Verse.
And so you also mentioned Alfred Woodward, who plays a normal human character. Well, I mean, they're both normal human characters, but one is.
But she's Mariah in Luke Cage.
Right. Is more
she's just a mom and who yells at Tony Stark in Civil War.
And I do like to include Haley Steinfeld just because I think she's a great actor. And
Gwen Stacy and Kate Bishop.
Yes. I stumbled over remembering Gwen Stacy's real name, but yes, she is Gwen Stacy / Ghost Spider / Spider Gwen / Spider Woman in the Into the Spider-Verse side of things, and she's also Kate Bishop on the on the live action side.
So there's still hope. I mean, there isn't hope because clearly it's Pedro Pascal, but like there's still, I still hold out hope until they announce it officially that William Jackson Harper. Because like his whole thing was like, I don't want to be in a Marvel movie. I'm like, okay, but you'll be some throwaway guy in the worst Marvel movie. Come on.
Right. Yeah, it's weird, and we do want to see more of him. But I think is part of the reaction just like it's too obvious to cast Pedro Pascal as another dad? I mean, that's just like.
Well, that's the thing. Like, is
101.
Franklin going to be like if unless the movie's about Reed taking Franklin like on a trip around the universe? Because that's what Pedro Pascal is good for. He's not just a dad. He's a dad who, has to take his kid on a journey.
Yes, exactly.
He's a lone wolf cub. He's not.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah, there's a lot of ground to cover in that Fantastic Four thing, and Pedro Pascal would be fine. It is just a little on the nose because, Dad, we'll get Pedro Pascal. Yeah.
And I honestly, I feel like maybe he hasn't. I guess he played a bit of an asshole in Wonder Woman, but
yeah, two for there. It's sort of.
I just don't see him as like. 'Cause I don't know. I feel when I think of Reed, I think of like kind of like a stuck-up asshole.
Yeah.
And I don't get that vibe from Pedro Pascal, even as a dad. He's like kind of like the cool, caring, rough exterior dad.
Yeah, you're right. He doesn't have quite the Asperger genius thing but maybe he wants to explore that part of him. I know. I mean
that's why I think the guy who played Chidi Aragonia is the perfect.
That is a good casting, Keith. But we can't always get what we want. I mean,
as Mick Jagger famously said.
I would mention we should frame it by saying part of the joke came out of when the John Krasinski Randall Park joke came out. That's part because someone was
right because you were saying Randall Park should be Mr. Fantastic.
Well, it became many people did this meme. It turns out making the joke that Randall Park has been announced as Mr. Fantastic. Several people did this joke because of.
Well, I think there was a Super Bowl commercial last night of another Ryan Reynolds movie where he was on like 3 directed of them. By John Krasinski, but they had Randall Park in the commercial saying, "Hi, I'm John Krasinski, and I directed this movie."
Right. So that joke goes on and on forever.
Some throwaway office joke will never die.
Yeah. No, that was but it's a fun one because I like both John Krasinski and Randall Park. So there you go. And yeah, that movie's called If, right? A fantasy with in the John Krasinski verse, which is fun.
Yeah, it's a prequel to Quiet Place, I believe. Not the Lupita Nyong'o one. It was the imaginary cartoon one. Anyway, that's Hard Knock Life. That's the Super Bowl. That's Deadpool and Dominic's Marvel song. But
dude, it's mainly DC. This is, by the way,
right. Sorry, right. The DC, I get DC and Marvel mixed up all the time. That's
this is the secret reason
you got Gail Simone's sign off for, right?
Yes, her casual approval. We're gonna go for more formal approval in a little bit. But again, I'm a DC fan too. Sometimes you make this thing of like you're
like we're right.
I'm showing DC love on this particular project.
No, I appreciate that. I can't wait.
But we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, absolutely. So until then, how can people find you and help contribute to the project?
Okay, well, I'm Dama, DOMMAH, on Blue Sky and Instagram and stuff. And also, if you know the site Ko-Fi, KO-FI, that's a crowdfunding site that we use. It's ko-fi.com/Dama, DOMMAH. And you can also get there by going to 12valentines.net, which 12 Valentines is the name of our group, and we'll redirect there. So if you would like to crowdfund a superhero-themed, nerdy musical theater project with original songs that calls out to things like Rihanna and Crisis on Infinite Earths, every dollar would help. And pitch. And
yeah, we'll have the links below in the description. Otherwise, you can follow me, The Real Chow, on the site formerly known as Twitter, and Real Keith Chow on Instagram. Follow the Nerds of Color on all the platforms. Go to hardknockmedia.com for the podcast, youtube.com/the Nerds of Color for the videos. And until next time,
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I'm playing it every day this year. So there. And happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Happy 12 Valentine's Day.
Yes, thank you. On Valentine's Day, I'll be playing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League for sure. But that's a whole other story. Okay. great.